What's going on, everybody? Wood Talk Sports back again with another mock draft. It's 3.0. Obviously, Super Bowl was last week. Congratulations to Kansas City Chiefs. 49ers, we'll get it next time. Now, there's really not too many changes that I have for this mock draft, except some storylines that I could see happening in the draft. So there's going to be a little bit of variety that I'm going to kind of almost, you could say I'm trying to force variety, but it's what I think could probably happen in the draft. And because there's a lot of more intricate stuff happening in the draft. So, first off, what I'm going to start off with is if you can see on the screen right now, I have Justin Fields going to the Steelers for 2 third-round picks. So we'll force the trade because I control both teams, so it doesn't really matter. So boom, Justin Fields is now your quarterback. So that means my first pick of a Bo Nix really isn't too relevant, especially with going with Jackson Powers Johnson last time. Steelers get their quarterback now. Don't trust in Kenny Pickett too much. So we'll go with the number 1 pick. It's going to stay as Caleb Williams. I still think, obviously, since I just traded Justin Fields, Caleb Williams is going to go number 1. That's their quarterback of the future. And, there's not much else to say about it other than Caleb Williams is Caleb Williams. So, number 2, I'm going to switch it up here. I think teams will start realizing that, where is he at? Jaden Daniels, he is down here in the board. 22, wow. I'm going to make him go number 2 to the Commanders. The reason why is you've looked at him during college. Each year, he exponentially improved. His running game kept on improving. And then obviously this last Heisman season, his passing exponentially improved. Yes, he benefited off having Malik Nabers and having Brian Thomas Jr., just having a good offense around him. But you still got to be able to get the ball to your wide receivers. And he made a huge leap that I think NFL teams are going to acknowledge more than we know right now. So I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels at 2. Plus, with Cliff Kingsbury as the new offensive coordinator, I think he fits his scheme a little bit better than Drake May. Even though I've said Drake May is almost like a Justin Herbert, Josh Allen prospect who he's got the talent in kind of what Josh Allen has to develop. I think Jaden Daniels will work better under Cliff, and I would not be surprised if I see they go with Jaden Daniels at number 2 and get that dual threat guy that Cliff Kingsbury is so well with coaching. You saw how well he coached Kyler Murray. So, with that being said, number 3 is going to be Drake May. I think Drake May goes 3 to the Patriots. Patriots could really lean Marvin Harrison Jr. if Jaden Daniels isn't there, because I think Jaden Daniels is a much better spot or QB fit for the Patriots than Drake May, just because, as I said in the last one, the culture change would probably be a big thing for them, and Drake May kind of fits. I wouldn't say fits, but like more of the passing aspect and not as much of a dual threat quarterback. I think having a dual threat quarterback, like a pure dual threat in New England, would be huge with the new head coach and just a new change of scenery. Drake May is obviously more focused on slinging the rock. He can run though. Don't get me wrong, he can run. But Jaden Daniels, I think, would be better for the Patriots. So I could see Marv going 3. However, I don't have him going 3. I'm going to have him going 4 to the Cardinals. Pretty much a no-brainer. He's going to be an absolute stud in the NFL. Not much to say about him other than he is one of the best talents we've seen. And then number 5, I've been arguing with myself between Nabers and Brock Bowers so much. I'm sticking with Brock Bowers. And the reason why is Greg Roman loves tight ends. I think Brock Bowers is going to be absolutely phenomenal. It's kind of hard to pass up on that generational tight end talent when you need a tight end. So I'm going to stick with Brock Bowers being drafted by the Chargers, and Herbert will be fantastic with him. Now at number 6, I've been going Malik Neighbors. I want to go him again, but if you don't have a offensive line to protect your quarterback and your quarterback can't get it to you, what are you going to do? So I'm actually going to switch it up today. I'm going to give the Giants Joe Alt, which makes the Titans a little upset because they want that guy. But I'm going to go with Joe Alt to the Giants because Evan Neal is awful. He's terrible. In his 2 years he's been in the league, he's been piss poor. And they're gonna finally say, you know what, we can't give him another chance when we got a guy like Joe Alt on the board. We need to protect Daniel Jones because this is your $40 million man. Because some reason they thought he is worth that much a year. Yeah, he had the one pretty decent season where they made it to the divisional round. They got destroyed in the divisional by the Eagles. But getting Joe Alt for the Giants is going to be huge. And yes, you're going to miss out on Malik Neighbors, and I probably think they will end up going Malik Neighbors. I just think Joe Alt is a bigger need because you need to protect Daniel Jones, especially coming back from a neck injury. That can end careers. Joe Alt going to be number 6 to the Giants. So that means number 7, they're going to go with an offensive lineman. They could go wide receiver, get Malik Neighbors here. I still think protecting Will Levis, building off that offensive line is key. So they're going to go Olu Fashanu at number 7. And I've been saying these two best 2 tackles in the draft, and I really love watching both of them. I mean, and then having him with Skornowski, if that's how you say it, I can never get it right. But having him and Peter Skornowski on the same offensive line, 2 young guys, just keep on building pieces and pieces onto that offensive line. This team is going to be good with Will Levis. They just need to find wide receivers. Could get one in the free agency with like maybe getting Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, one of those guys, Mike Evans. Who knows? So at number 8, I'm going to go down the list once more. Another repeat from my last 2 drafts. Dallas Turner to the Falcons. Best defensive talent, in my opinion, as I keep saying time in time out. He's going to go 8 to the Falcons. They need edge rusher. I've been seeing people give him Byron Murphy. My thing with that is Byron Murphy really isn't what they need. They don't really need D-line. They need an edge rusher. They need a guy to come off the edge and beat those tackles and get to the quarterback. And that's what Dallas Turner can do. That's what he always has done. Now, at number 9 to the Bears, I've got almost a steal for them. Malik Neighbors going to 9. And him dropping to 9 and pairing Malik Neighbors, who, in my opinion, was the best wide receiver in college football last year, with Caleb Williams, who is one of the best draft prospects. That tandem is going to be deadly in Chicago. And then you also have DJ Moore. You have the running backs in Khalil Herbert. They keep Donta Foreman. Just Roschon Johnson. Like, their offense is slowly building up more and more. And then their defense, if they can keep guys, specifically Jalen Johnson, they can keep those guys. This team can make a run for the playoff spot, like a wild card this year. However, their division is very stacked with the Lions and the Packers. Now, at number 10, I'm going to have my first trade. And what do you know? The team's right here. I'm going to have my trade with the Broncos. So, let me just some type of trade, first 10 for 12 and maybe a second or a third this year. So we'll do that. I'm not too big on making it super realistic. I just want to trade those picks. And I think the Broncos are willing to jump the gun on a quarterback. And if there's any quarterback they're going to jump the gun on, it's going to be J.J. McCarthy. And the reason I say J.J. McCarthy is going to be a Bronco is you have a guy who he's able to make his throws. Obviously didn't always have to throw the football at Michigan. Very run-heavy team. Obviously, when Harbaugh was suspended, I think they ran the ball 73% of the time. I just think McCarthy, he has the talent to be a good quarterback. And who else but Sean Payton to help, develop that guy? You saw what Jameis did under Sean Payton. You saw what Taysom Hill was doing under Sean Payton. You saw what Trevor Siemian did under Sean Payton. You see what Russell Wilson, how he improved from Nathaniel Hackett to Sean Payton. Hopefully Sean Payton doesn't act up too much, so McCarthy can actually, maybe have a good time in Denver. But if there's any guy that Denver's going to jump on, I think it's going to be JJ, and it's not going to be Bo Nix. If Bo Nix goes anywhere, I could honestly see him going 11, but I don't think there's going to be 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 11. JJ McCarthy, number 10 to the Broncos. And then at number 11, the Vikings. I'm torn between Byron Murphy, who I had here, I think my first mock draft, Jared Verse, who I've been talking about putting here in this recent mock draft. Now, when I look at what they need, obviously it says they need D-line. Obviously, Danielle Hunter might not be returning. So when I think of, what do I think is right for this squad? I'm going to have to say I don't think Danielle Hunter stays. And that's where I'm going to go and say give him Jared Verse. Because Jared Verse, as I've said, he would have been a first-round pick in last year's draft. He's that good. And you're thinking, why don't I go Latu, who I had in this spot last time? I'm not too confident in how teams perceive him because he did have to medically retire once before in college. And yes, he came back and he's had 2 phenomenal seasons. You just can't. People don't understand. I mean, I can't say I understand because I don't really understand either. It's kind of hard to understand how how teams perceive that type of player. So Jared Verse, I think, is more of a better choice because he has, I'd say, a more positive outlook. So Jared Verse to the Vikings. And at number 12, obviously Fashanu and Alt are gone. The Jets traded back, and you could say they trade back for a wide receiver or a tackle. I think they trade back for a tackle. They get Talise Fuaga at 12, which kind of screws over the Raiders and kind of screws over the Saints because I think those 2 teams will get a tackle first. That's going to be their biggest concerns during this draft. And since Talise Fuaga goes to the Jets, I can also see Roma Dunze going to the Jets, but that makes it so they're not going to get Fuaga, which I actually originally planned on having Fuaga going to the Raiders in my 3.0. But with my 3.0 for the Raiders, I could go in between Quinyon Mitchell, Terrion Arnold, and J.C. Latham or Amarius Mims, Tyler Guyton. I'm actually going to stick with what I've done every single time, Terrion Arnold. I just love his playmaking ability. I think he's the CB1 of this draft class, although this big board thinks he's the CB3 or CB4, excuse me, because he was ranked at 14th. And you have Quinyon Mitchell, Nate Wiggins, and Cooper DeJean. And then his playmaking, 5 interceptions, 12 passes broken up at Alabama last season. He's going to be that archetype of corner that the Raiders will need, especially under Antonio Pierce. So 14 to the Saints, I could go 2 ways. J.C. Latham fix that tackle spot, but there's one guy that's still on this board that shouldn't be this late in the draft that the Saints really can't pass up on, and it's Rome Odunze. And I'm going to take Rome Odunze for the Saints because Michael Thomas is aging, and he's never really been able to fully be back from the 2019 season. Chris Olave, obviously, he's good. Shahid's good. I love A.T. Perry, but is A.T. Perry worth starting over a guy like Odunze? No. I'm going to go Saints get Rome Odunze. They only have 3 wide receivers currently under contract for next season. So getting a wide receiver in the draft is something crucial for them. Obviously, Shaheed's an exclusive, restricted free agent, so like they can give him a minimum, and like he can't really go talk to other teams about joining them. So Odunze to the Saints, and at 15 to the Colts, I'm gonna go with Nate Wiggins. They need DB. It's either Wiggins or DeJean because they just need DB in general, not just strictly corner. I think they get Nate Wiggins, the lockdown corner, and that's going to be big for them. Now, next up, 16 for the Seahawks. I'm actually going to scroll down a little bit. I've been having him go late first round recently, but I think he fits what the Seahawks need. He's going to stay in Seattle. Troy Fautanu is going to be a Seahawk. He plays tackle at Washington, has shown that he can move to guard, will most likely move to guard for Seattle. And some people are projecting maybe Bo Nix goes 16, Penix goes 16. I don't see them going quarterback still. I mean, Geno Smith was fine this last year. Obviously not as good as his comeback player of the year season. But I don't think they're going to move on from him just yet. I think if anything, last year would have been the best year to get a quarterback, but then obviously Anthony Richardson went at 4 and they were 5. Devin Witherspoon, still a fantastic player, so I'm not gonna like discredit Devin Witherspoon. But Troy Fautanu to the Seahawks, I think is huge. I think they could also go Byron Murphy or Leatu Latu. But I'm gonna have them go Troy Fautanu. Now, 17 to the Jacksonville Jags. It's either Cooper DeJean or Quinyon Mitchell. I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean, and I've been having him go to the Rams every single mock draft, and I think it's time to switch it up. I think I'm kind of disrespecting him as a player. He's a great special teams, like a returner. He can play literally any DB spot you ask him to play. You can put him out wide corner. You can put him at the slot. You can put him at safety. You can put him anywhere. And I think that's something that a team will really value in the draft. I think Terran Arnold and Nate Wiggins still go ahead of him because the pure skill at corner is substantial. So DeJean still goes to in the first round. It's just after those two guys, and DeJean still a stud corner, going to be able to play anywhere that the Jaguars want, and he'll be almost like a, not really Jabril Peppers, but a Jabril Peppers in the NFL, minus the linebacker part, and almost an Isaiah Simmons at Clemson when he would line up at slot corner and just play everywhere. Just one of those type of players. All right, 18 now to the Bengals. There's a guy still here that usually I don't have still here, and that's J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham is an absolute specimen of an offensive lineman. I mean, he's like 6'6", listed 335. I think he's like 350 probably. He's huge. And so I don't see them passing up on a specimen like that. I could see them go Tyler Guyton and see. I think he jumps up on some draft boards. By the way, wow, Tyler Newman has jumped up this draft board. Same with Peyton Wilson. I haven't heard much about him. I like Zach Frazier jumping up. There's a team actually on here I think might jump the gun for him. But all right, next up is 19 with the Rams, and they could go multiple ways. I think they could honestly go Byron Murphy, which not the greatest idea, I'd say, because I mean they have Aaron Donald still, they have Kobe Turner, but you don't know when Aaron Donald's going to retire. So putting Byron Murphy on the team would be huge. They could also get a corner. They could also go a line, because I could also see them going Amarius Mims, Tyler Guyton. What I'm going to do for the Rams is I'm going to stick with the same position. I'm just going to give them Quinyon Mitchell. And the reason I'm doing that is I still just think that this team needs to fix DBs. As I said, the only two guys I can think of on their team are probably Ahkello Witherspoon and Kobe Durant. Those are the only two defensive backs I can really think of on their team. So getting another corner would be huge for them. Now, at number 20, I'm going to repeat what I did last time. I think the Steelers need that center position. So Jackson Powers Johnson's a great center prospect. He'll go. at 20. And at 21, with the Dolphins, I'm pretty sure I had Amarius Mims going here last time. I'm going to switch it up. They're going to might lose their center in the offseason. They might lose their guard. So, they could go and say Zach Frazier. I'm actually going to say they're going to pick the guy that is saying he could make the move, Graham Barton from Duke. I think he'll get drafted to the Dolphins. Obviously, if they keep their center, he could stay at tackle. I think that he's going to be their best option because if they lose their center, he can go play center. If not, he could stay tackle, maybe move to guard. He's a very expendable guy. He can play all 5 positions. He's got the athleticism for it. He's got the size for it. So Graham Barton, I think, is honestly a perfect fit for Miami. Now, 22 to the Eagles. They need a linebacker. They need wide receiver. They need DB. You look at the wide receivers on the board. You got Brian Thomas Jr. Do you see him as a wide receiver 3 on the Eagles? I don't. You look at linebackers. You have Edgerrin Cooper. You have Peyton Wilson. I would go Edgerrin Cooper if there any linebackers going to go off the board. I just think they need defensive back. So I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry to the Eagles. I just think they need to get another DB with Slay and Bradbury being old, getting up there in age. McKinstry fits in perfect. And the Eagles get themselves a corner, a young one. At 23 to the Texans, I'm going to stick with what I did last time. I think Brian Thomas Jr. goes to the Texans. Absolute stud at LSU. And having him alongside Nico Collins and Tank Dell with CJ Stroud at quarterback, it's going to be deadly. So I'm going to have them going there. Next up for the Cowboys. This one's been a little bit iffy for me. I could see them going interior D-line, Byron Murphy. I could see them going corner with Rakestraw. I could also see them going with Zach Frazier because the Cowboys are known for jumping up the board to get a guy that they want and get a guy that they know is going to be of their caliber. So I could see this happening, and I'm going to actually make it happen. Zach Frazier is going to be drafted by the Cowboys because I feel like the Cowboys tend to lean offense a little bit more. Obviously, the past couple drafts, with Tyler Smith, they jumped up the board for Tyler Smith, and he, a lot of penalties, but he's looking good regardless of the penalties. So I'm going to go with Zach Frazier to Dallas. Excuse me. 25, the Packers. They could go 2 ways, D-line or tackle. It's either Amarius Mims, really, or Byron Murphy. I'm not really going to argue with it. Or Tyler Guyton. Matter of fact, actually, yeah, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go Tyler Guyton to the Packers, and I just loved his Senior Bowl. That's really my big thing. And, former TCU offensive lineman, he's looked great. He looked great at TCU, looked great at Oklahoma. So I think Tyler Guyton goes 25 to Green Bay. And now we've got the Buccaneers, and I think they get an absolute bang for their buck. They get Laiatu Latu at 26, which is a steal in my opinion for that good of a player. As I said, I think he's got the most pro-ready skills at edge rusher, but I think Dallas Turner has a much higher ceiling. Latu is going to drop because of the injury question. Buccaneers still getting themselves a good player regardless. Now, 27, the Arizona Cardinals pick once more. I think they go to defense now. You could go O-line and get Mims. I think they go Byron Murphy. It's long enough for him to drop down this board for him to not be picked. And he's going to be that instant game changer for Arizona. And obviously with a defensive-minded head coach in Jonathan Gannon, I think Murphy is going to be that guy, especially if he's still here. If he's not, Jerzon Newton's still there, he'll be there. and he'll be a Cardinal. I can guarantee it. But next up, Bills. I'm just gonna go to the wide receiver tab. It's gonna be one of these two. It's gonna be a jump ball guy, and I think that they're gonna like Keon Coleman more. I don't think Diggs is gonna stay in Buffalo for too long. I think his time there is nearing an end. So they're going to want another outside wide receiver. You want to have Khalil Shakir at slot. He really proved himself this year. So Keon Coleman would be big to get for them. And then Gabe Davis has always been so inconsistent. So at 29 to the Lions, I think I'm going to go with Jerzon Newton just to solidify their defensive line. I mean, you got James Houston. You've got Aiden Hutchinson on the edge. And getting Jerzon Newton in the interior, that just makes it a deadly D line. And Jerzon Newton dropping to 29, they're not going to pass up on that. And I think that's the best thing they need to do. For 30, we've got the Ravens. Now Jerzon would go number 30 to the Ravens, but I have him 29 to the Lions. But we're going to go number 30 with the Ravens. I'm going to go with the guy on the top of this board. We're going to go Troy Franklin. I mean, you have Zay Flowers and Troy Franklin on the same team. That's going to be big. Superstar potential for that man. I mean, I loved him at Oregon. Not the most yards per route ran at Oregon, but Oregon was very short passes, it seemed like. Nick's tended to throw a lot of screens, throw a lot of short passes. He had the arm to throw deep. Franklin would tend to see the ball a lot. And that's why I think him with Lamar is going to be huge. And I'm obviously playing alongside Zay Flowers. So he'll go 30 to Baltimore. Now 31 to the San Francisco 49ers. They're going to need offensive line. And there's a guy right here that falls right into their lap, Amarius Mims. He's a huge offensive lineman. He lacks play time. I believe he's only played 8 games in college. Always been sitting behind studs though, and he's got the skills to be a first round pick. Obviously, there's a reason he's projected to be, and I think they're gonna get lucky with him falling to 231, and Amarius Mims going to a team with an aging left tackle in Trent Williams. Obviously, he's still like the best left tackle in the NFL, but he's getting old, so he won't last forever. And at 32, I'm going to make this pretty easy. Adonai Mitchell to the Chiefs. They're going to need another wide receiver. Getting another huge, talented wide receiver like Adonai Mitchell is a big thing for me. Kelsey is running out of time, so Kelsey might be done in a couple years. So getting Adonai Mitchell is huge for the Chiefs. All right, that's going to be the mock draft. You can take a look at this. Obviously, I only had one major trade that I did. I'm trying to integrate trades more and more. That's the only trade I really see happening because I think the Vikings could look quarterback, and the Broncos are willing to jump in front of them to get their guy, who they think is J.J. McCarthy. But here's my post Super Bowl mock draft 3.0. Let me know what you guys thought about this. You guys will never believe what just happened. The microphone I used died. So, anyways, thank goodness we're near the end. So, that's going to be it. Let me know what you think. If your favorite team, if you think I did the right choice. And appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on all socials, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.